Michael Ozanian. He is the CNBC senior sports reporter joining us on the program. Michael, thanks for joining us. If I said you could have $10 billion or you could have the Lakers today, what would you take?
Dan, it's great to be with you. I take the $10 billion, two reasons. One is I'd outbid the 175 million bid, whatever it is, for the Tampa Bay Rays, buy them, build a new stadium, and then have $5 billion left over because I'm a bigger baseball fan than I am basketball fan. And the second reason is I have a daughter who's starting college next semester, so that helped me with that. So I go that way.
Okay, why sell now if you're the Buss family?
Well, I think that part of the reason is she's had, let's say, legal issues with members of her family since her dad passed away. Some of those apparently have been settled. Second reason is I think the price is astronomical. If you look at what Mark Walter's been doing, he's been building a huge sports empire over time. I mean, he owns the Dodgers. He owns a piece of two soccer teams, one of which is Chelsea. He's involved in auto racing. So he's the primary financer of the Women's Professional Hockey League. And so he had the right of first refusal since he and Todd Bowley came in about 3-4 years ago and bought a 26% stake. So, there were probably other people out there sniffing around, and Jeannie Buss said, look, you have the right of first refusal. He said, what would it take? He's got access to tremendous financing with his ties to Guggenheim. He's got another investment firm, I think it's called TWG Capital. So he has the means by which to buy this team. So, people thought he was nuts, including me, when he plopped down $2 billion for the Dodgers many years ago. And everyone said, what are you doing? That's a crazy price. Well, looking back, it's not. And he's had tremendous success with the Dodgers. So I think from his standpoint, the Lakers, an iconic brand, once in a lifetime opportunity, and it's a fit into a larger scheme, which is building this huge platform of tremendously valuable intellectual property, which guys like you and I call sports.
You had, or CNBC had, its most recent NBA team valuations, the Lakers third in the league at $7 billion. Why a $3 billion difference?
Yeah, that's me, Dan. I've been valuing sports teams since 1989 when I started this whole thing at Financial World. And, I was looking at it at the time and saying, okay, what's the most priciest team up until that point? This was right before the Celtics offer. And sports bankers generally look at these things like compare it to revenue, multiples of revenue. How many times revenue is a team worth? The Suns, which the Ishbia brothers bought for $4 billion, that was a little over 13 times revenue. So going along those lines, that's how I valued the Lakers. Of course, then pops up the Celtics. They go for a little over $6 billion, and you're saying, holy cow, it's back to the drawing board when you're talking about a marquee franchise, right? Because the Celtics, Lakers, two big markets, the two teams with the most championships in NBA history. Time to get a new calculator because you're looking at this deal and it's like 18 times revenue. So the math, the numbers, the economics are almost completely brushed aside at this point. It's just something that I think if you're Mark Walter and you're looking at this and you're saying, look, I'm in LA, I got the Dodgers, I'm building this huge sports platform. I may never get another chance to see a sports asset like this that can fit into my scheme. And, I think if you're looking at the people that are, potentially winners, the collateral winners from this, I think maybe you got to look at Golden State and say, they've been looking to sell, exploring the sale of a minority stake in their team. And they're in a much better situation in a way because they controlled their building's economics. They own the building, they get all the ancillary revenues, concerts, and all that stuff. whereas the Lakers are simply tenants. Anschutz owns that building. Him and the Los Angeles Kings, which he owns, gets the lion's share. And this goes to the Celtics, too, because with the Celtics, everybody was scratching their head and saying, holy cow, it's the owners of the Bruins that control that arena. That the Celtics are simply tenants. Their arena economics are not good at all. So, arena economics considered, a key driver in the pecking order aside from market in terms of franchise value within the leagues. And this just blew that away. When I saw the ESPN story on this, Dan, yesterday, I immediately tweeted to all my sports banker friends and people that I knew that were either executives with sports teams or own sports teams. And to a person, they all came back, and there were two things that they said they knew nothing of this beforehand. They were completely surprised. And the second thing was, wow, they could not believe the price.
What is the most valuable sports franchise in the United States?
Got to be the Dallas Cowboys. I valued them when we did the NFL at CNBC a year ago at $11 billion. As we've seen over the past year, there's been a few NFL teams that have sold minority pieces. The Eagles, the Bills, the Chargers, and the 49ers. With the 49ers are selling a minority piece, I think it was at $8.6 billion valuation. You got to think the next time we value the NFL, the Cowboys are going to be much more than $11 billion. And some other teams that are looking to sell pieces now, like the Bears, the New York Giants. I mean, I think you're going to see these prices, continue to go up. And, I started off by saying I started doing this in 1989, Dan. I remember the first time I did it, and I did all the leagues at once, and the most valuable team was the New York Yankees at $250 million, I think it was. And of course, the Steinbrenner group had bought the team for, I think it was $8.8 million in 1973. And I remember saying to a sports banker, a guy, I think he was at one of the big 8 accounting firms at the time, like Ernst & Young or Deloitte, one of those. And I said, can this appreciation continue? And he said, no way. He said, because TV rights aren't going to continue to go up. And of course, the exact opposite's happened, right? Look at the NBA's new TV deal. It's 2.6 times bigger than the deal that ended this past season. So, it's extremely valuable content. And increasingly, I know I mentioned sports empires with Walter, but the trend is, what we're seeing is these investors that own teams continue to increase their stakes in multiple sports and multiple leagues. You look at Kroenke, he owns, the Rams, the Avalanche, the Nuggets, he owns Arsenal. Then you got the geographically centered empires like Ted Leonsis. He owns the Capitals, the Wizards, the arena down there, WNBA team. I mean, these guys, they all have two things in common. They're really smart, and they have the money to put these rare assets together. And I think we're going to see this trend continue, Dan.
Great to talk to you, Michael. We appreciate the insights.
My pleasure, Dan. Anytime.
That's Michael Ozanian, the CNBC senior sports reporter.